Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Mexi here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Luigi's Mansion 2, aka Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon for those of you who lived in North America, for the Nintendo 3DS/Nintendo Switch, as we are still playing through Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to completely done with the forms of the, without a doubt, is the shortest mission in the entire game by far. That's what it appears to be, Mission E-4, Ambush Maneuver, which as a result, that particular mission only contains a boss featuring the forms of Big Boo, and generally speaking, that was about the fact that we were so close to get ourselves the 3-star ranking medal, but that's just mainly because I just keep on getting hit a lot by the forms of Big Boo's attacks, and also some boos every once in a while. But apart from those aside things though, we didn't get a single game over so far, which I suppose that's a good thing. So, anyways though, today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be continuing things on in Treacherous Mansion, and this time we're going on to the next mission, which appears to be Mission E-5, Paranormal Chaos. So, generally speaking whenever I first got to this mission on the 3DS version, I just simply could not for the life of me just trying to able to complete this mission at first glance, until I found out about the fact that usually level up your Poltergust 5000 is mandatory in order to able to finish the game, because if you don't upgrade your Poltergust 5000 at all, you're expected to die a lot, especially concerning for the fact that you see what I mean if we dive into this mission for reals. So, generally speaking, I was about the fact that, well, today's date, of course, there is the 21st of October today, in some cases in 2024 today, so you know what that means, folks? Happy Back to the Future Day, everybody, especially concerning for the fact that, obviously, that was about the fact that that's the day is a tribute to the influence Back to the Future has had on science fiction technology and popular culture, and it's an opportunity for fans to relive their favorite moments from the series and reflect on how many of the film's predictions about the future have or haven't come true. So, yeah, that's a brief description about the forms of Back to the Future Day, because obviously, though, it wasn't until next year, though, that Back to the Future Part 1, specifically the first film in the series of this entire trilogy of Back to the Future films, was expected to become 40 until next year. So, similar to the forms of how it does it for Super Mario Bros., and during at some point in next year as well. However, though, unlike in Super Mario Bros., though, obviously that was about the fact that we're trying to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise until next September, specifically September 13th in 2025, and meanwhile for Back to the Future though, we're trying to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the first film until October 2025.
Whoa.
Okay, so we ended up in here again, especially concerning for the fact that much like the forms of how it does it on let's just say Mission E-3, we need to able to get these staircase to rotate, so just in case we can able to traverse into the room we need to head over to, which apparently we're about to be going into the terrace. But before we get into that though, we need to find the final Boo in the entire game, in some cases Boo number 32, and that's clearly in this room right here, and because of that though, we need to find this missing object, and then once you do manage to find it, well, there he is, the final Boo in the game. So generally speaking, it's about the fact that this means we can able to actually decide to find him for the final time while simply using the dark light and just trying to able to suck up his tongue to pull back and let go in the process to deal the amount of damage depending on the forms of specific situations. And usually, relatively speaking, we can able to grab certain coins a little bit. Wait a second, where did he go? Oh, hello? Is he coming down or something? Oh, don't tell me I've got soft locked. Oh, wait a minute. Hello? Oh, there he is. I almost first thought about the fact that, oh, he's not got stuck. So either way, though, Thankfully though, we somehow managed able to catch him, despite the fact that that was actually a very unexpected moment right there. Especially, I'm almost felt a bit too speechless about the fact, is that Boo ever gonna come down? But regardless of everything else though, thankfully though, finding that particular Boo is actually very easy to find. Especially concerning for the fact that if you did manage to try to do the regular mission normally, basically what happens was though is about the fact that we might come across into a time limit around here, which you'll see why in journey at some point after we deal with the forms of trying to go through terrorist room, and potentially speaking of, we can able to actually come across into a familiar foe. Well then, it looks like that King Boo has created this particular portal thing right there, but we can't do anything about it though until we've realized about the fact that there's a lot of stronger variants of certain ghosts. So this means about the fact that we must able to traverse into multitude of rooms in order able to clear out all of these ghosts, because otherwise though, as I stated before, this mission will feature a time limit if you spend on the actual mission for long enough, and then as soon as you realize about the fact that you know what I'm saying about the fact that trying to upgrade your Poltergeist 5000 is important until you've realized about the fact that you'll become much more stronger when it comes to likely trying to suck up ghosts and stuff like that. So, yeah, anyways though, it's about the fact that obviously though we have to quick about this as well, just because, as I stated before, is about the fact that the more you're trying to spend on the actual mission itself for a bit too long, or even you might get lost around here, then you do realize about the fact that the color palettes of certain rooms, like as you can tell on the map, on the top right corner, basically though we need to specifically try to go onto specific rooms that actually has a color on it. Like for instance, we need to go into the space exhibit and able to actually clear out all of these ghosts in particular, because otherwise, if it starts to change into a different color, like in yellow or red essentially, the time limit will be activated. However though, if you let the time run out, basically that counts as an instant game over, and you have to restart the entire mission all over again. So generally speaking though, this also includes about the fact that you must able to try to find the Boo again, and even some rare occasions about the fact that we might come across into gold greenies here and there. I think relatively speaking though actually, it's about the fact that if we do somehow manage able to try to find the gold greenie if possible, and if not, well obviously though, beggars can't be choosers I guess. So anyways though, there are some other things worth mentioning for actually, is about the fact that we actually got ourselves some quite good news in regards to the forms of Dragon Ball Z related, and those are which are the forms of, let's just say, one of those games in particular which appears to be Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and the other game which appears to be Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which generally speaking though, both games are receiving DLC, which as a result, for instance, in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, is going to be added in Gugu Mini counterpart. So yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. And on top of that, when it comes to Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, it actually reveals, let's just say a Dragon Ball series kind of stuff, which appears to be called Dragon Ball Daima, I think it's what it says anyway. And as a result though, it's going to be called Adventure Through the Demon Realm Part 1. So generally speaking, that's as far as I can try to say about that, I guess. Especially concerning for the fact that it did say Part 1 at the very bottom of that particular logo, by the way. So yeah, I'm very curious to know how that's going to turn out to be. So anyway, also, about the fact I do somehow managed able to realize about this is about the fact that we actually got ourselves a confirmation about the forms of the actual opening day in regards to the forms of the upcoming Universal Studios attraction, which appears to be Universal Epic Universe in Florida regardless, or Orlando to be more specifically. Apparently though, it's about to be opened up and doing at some point in 2025, specifically on the 22nd of May in 2025. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that I'm very, very excited to see how that's gonna turn out, especially concerning for the fact that after all that the Super Nintendo World in Orlando is gonna be featured on there, especially concerning for the fact that we do see Mario and Donkey Kong and all that stuff, so yeah, you get the idea for this point. And on top of all that stuff, that was about the fact that yes indeed, I did manage to able to check out the supposedly the final episode in terms of the forms of My Little Pony Telltale. I almost said Friendship is Magic for some reason, because I keep thinking about that show is more superior, because apparently though, I did manage to check out the forms of Telltale's final episode, and let me tell you, it's pretty messed up, especially concerning for the fact that despite the fact that the entire G5 continuity has been screwed up beyond belief, and not to mention though is about the fact that all it shows is just, well, having fun in the water slides and all that stuff, and that's about it. So no villains to be defeated, so as a result though, I am so done with the forms of G5 at this point, as does Hasbro in general, because, you know, with the forms of low representation of G5, and on top of all that stuff though, with all this very negative receptions, the forms of G5 to somehow cancel the rest of the planned series, so yeah, the actual leopard villain thing is still alive during that time, and on top of all that stuff though, the water slide thing, illusion thing is the final ending, gets screwed up G5. It's a shame, because relatively speaking though, I did have some expectations in the past, but now I will admit though, I just simply give up on G5 for reals this time, especially concerning for the fact that after all, that's, at least potentially speaking though, it doesn't end off with a cliffhanger, thankfully, unlike the forms of how it does not make your mark, that ends off with a cliffhanger. And generally speaking, I was about the fact that, well, it's a shame that G5 is a flop at the end, which is especially noticeable concerning for the fact that, well, none of those merchandise didn't seem to pop up. So generally speaking, because unlike in G4, the amount of merchandise were all over the place, and it's especially noticeable concerning for the fact that Generation 4 is without a doubt is not only superior in my opinion, but aside from all the fact that it's actually very successful at the same time, clearly because no matter what though, In Friendship is Magic still has 9 seasons, and it does have a pretty good beginning, and a really dang good way to send off with the actual Friendship is Magic with a true ending. After all, about the fact that the true villains have been defeated, and on top of all that stuff though, with no cliffhangers whatsoever at the end. I mean, relatively speaking though, that's the thing I totally appreciate about the forms of Friendship is Magic over the likes of not only Make Your Mark, but as well as Telltale, because otherwise though, again, I'm biased I guess, especially concerning for the fact I will say that G5, it just kind of blows in my opinion. So yeah, I will admit though, I'm probably not going to likely going back into G5 anymore, especially concerning for the fact that, well, again, about the fact that with the new generation movie, it's pretty good start, but I will admit though, the ending kind of blows, especially concerning for, you know, cliffhanger, and on top of all that stuff though, a lot of like missed opportunities with that specific knowledge worth noting for. So at the end of the day though, when it comes to Telltale, it actually receives a grand total of, I would say, 94 episodes in particular, if I'm not mistaken, but it's just about the fact that I don't usually watch those that often, especially concerning for the fact that much like Pony Life, basically though, it's not my kind of thing, unlike Friendship is Magic though, because of the, you know what I'm talking about, world building, and on top of that, memorable characters, memorable villains, songs are very memorable, but as far as Telltale is concerned, I'm not a really big fan of the musical numbers to me though, apart from, some musical numbers on the movie, which is of course a new generation, like some of them are, like Glowing Up and It's Gonna Be My Day, but everything else though, nah, it's not my kind of thing. So I will again stress this enough, it's entirely my opinion related, but I know a lot of bronies out there seem to have their own opinions as well, but believe me, what I'm saying is about the fact that everything else is messed up. I mean, we didn't get anything this time, so because of that though, yeah, I'm sorry guys, that G5 itself is just not doing it for me. So yeah, again, I will stress this enough, it's just in my opinion, you know. But anyway, let's change the subject for this point, because otherwise though, and that's what it appears to be about the fact that at this point in time, we've only got about, technically tomorrow, about the fact that if you do manage to able to actually access to the digital deluxe edition of Sonic X Shadow Generations, after all, it's going to be releasing tomorrow digitally. Although, unlike the physical version, it's going to be out in June at some point until 4 days from now. So clearly though, we are getting very, very close to the hype about the forms of Sonic X Shadow Generations coming up. So, and I think, relatively speaking now, we've only got about 17 more days to go, I'm guessing so anyway, for the likes of Mario Luigi Brothership is going to be releasing. So because of that though, still, I'm incredibly excited for it, especially that to make matters even better, in regards to the forms of 2024 to me though, I simply managed to play a lot of my Nintendo Switch after the events of this very good selections of games I've recently played so far. So, yeah, you get the idea for that point. So, but yeah, as you can tell about the fact that there's going to be a lot of like back and forth between multitude of rooms we have to explore, because again, you need to be quick about this, because otherwise if you're too slow, obviously though you have to restart this entire mission all over again. So, and I believe that pretty much takes care of the forms of most of these ghosts in some rooms anyway, so it may look like we need to head back into the terrace and able to do the most intense part about this mission, at least to be more specifically though, is about the fact that, oh jeez, I totally forgot about this part right here, especially concerning for the fact that, well, I just simply cannot waste my time because, you know, I just refuse able to run out of time right here. So, although thankfully though, about the fact that much like the previous mission, that we can able to deal with this mission in the quickest time if possible, and I'm really hoping about the fact I can easily guarantee to get myself my glorious 3-star ranking medal, if possible, if only for the fact that we don't want to get hit too many times. And not to mention though, it's always recommendable if you try to let the gauge go completely full up and press A at the right time, so just in case you can able to get yourselves a whole bunch of gold bars in the process. So, but either way, and it's also worth noting for as well is about the fact that we've only got about 10 more days to go until Halloween, so I would have imagined about the fact that if we try to celebrate Halloween this year, well, potentially though we can able to actually try to show off the multiplayer stuff, specifically Scarescraper mode, and usually relatively speaking though is about the fact I believe Scarescraper mode only has 3 different gameplay modes, so, which I'll definitely show those off, but don't expect things about the fact that I'm probably not going to be able to complete all of the modes entirely for the sake of Scarescraper mode or anything else like that. So, anyways though, so at least we did somehow burn down the mummy, so it makes the entire process a lot quicker, despite the fact that you do need to able to aim that particular straw bulb at the quick, or in some cases a good angle, so just to ensure about the fact that you could easily, miraculously try to take care of these mummies no problem. So, although I will admit though right away though is about the fact I do apologize for my commentary, it's a little bit slightly awkward at times, because relatively speaking, it's been about 3 days ago since I actually have last played this game for sure, especially though, about the fact that no matter what though, recently though, I've somehow unlocked every single board alongside with every single playable characters, and every single minigames unlocked for Super Mario Party Jamboree on my spare own time, just to prepare for the forms of the Let's Play at some point until next year if possible. But either way though, I suppose I still need to get a lot of practices when it comes to new minigame types, and also with the forms of some new other modes as well. Mind you, I still haven't experienced other modes just yet though, because I think, let's suffice to say though, I think I actually got enough achievements unlocked, especially concerning for the fact that thankfully though, the entire process for me though is actually very self-explanatory rather than just complicated things, and most of the time though, a lot of grinding stuff. So either way though, so now we can able to actually take care of the last batch of stronger variants of certain ghosts potentially. So sometimes though about the fact that it can be felt a bit chaotic at times, although we might able to actually come across into normal variants for some other ghosts in general. Well, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to explain, because as you can tell, I have to focus on this part, because otherwise though, if I get too much distractions on this though, then I have to simply try to able to do a massive jump cut to able to go back into this point. But regardless of everything else though, luckily though, we've only got one more ghost to take care of, And potentially speaking, we don't have to worry about the forms of this weapon type of ghosts and all that stuff, despite the fact I keep on slipping up and stuff like that. But apart from those aside things though, yeah, once you clear all the ghosts, that's it. So yeah, I told you this mission goes by very quick, especially concerning for the fact that thankfully though with the run button, then obviously though we don't have to worry about trying to go for slow movements. Because I will admit it though right away, as I stated this before, when I first played this mission on the 3DS version, my goodness, it did take me about a couple of tries, mainly because not only I'm pretty much under-leveled, but it's also about the fact that the controls wasn't exactly as precise I thought it was going to, unlike nowadays with the Switch version. So, because the Switch Pro controller is my preferred way of playing games on the Switch, just because, the Switch Pro controller still is the most comfortable controller I've ever used. And look at that! We got ourselves yet again with the glorious 3-star ranking medal, so yeah, that's actually pretty top-notch. And then again though, no gems to be found, because obviously though we've already collected them all ever since on the 3rd mission, so even then, we don't have to necessarily try to worry about this anymore, so... Oh wait, that's a lot of ghosts that we somehow caught, and on top of that, a lot of money we somehow collected, and on top of that, the final boo we've somehow captured, so this means we are done with the boo hunting. So, yeah, pretty top-notch and all that stuff. So, I guess the only things we need to consider focusing on right now is that, potentially speaking, we might able to actually come across into the final mission in the whole entire game, because after all, though, it's about the fact that we've already taken care of not only the majority of the boos, but as well as the forms of some other ghosts as well. So, generally speaking, all that's left right now is not only King Boo, but also with, I would say, another processor or something. Well, then again, though, we'll have to stay tuned for that, and during at some point on this Friday coming up, and during around the exact same time as in Sonic X Shadow Generations is expected to be releasing during that time, physically, and you name the rest. So... But either way though, also, I suppose the final thing I want to discuss upon, potentially speaking of, is about the fact I have no idea of what's going to be up for the sake of the phones of the later days to come, because potentially speaking of is about the fact that, well, despite the fact that Ray the Flying Squirrel is already prepared for the final few videos, for the sake of the phones of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake after all, I mean, potentially speaking of, he's now on to the end game, so stay tuned until tomorrow, if possible. So, yeah, everything else checks out there. So, anyway, yeah, we've essentially done everything on Paranormal Chaos. It's actually not too bad I thought I was going to. So anyways, and here's our boss mission right here, which appears to be Stop the Nightmare. But we'll save that until on Friday, as I stated before. So before we end off the video right here, let's go ahead and quickly have a look at the gem collection for the final time. And because of that, let's see what really happens if we somehow collected all the gems in Treacherous Mansion. And it looks like that's how the figure is supposed to be. So... yeah, pretty cool and everything, especially concerning for the fact that, well, usually Luigi's becoming like a little bit more confident now, especially concerning for the fact that after sucking up a lot of ghosts, then he's actually more of a hero more than anything. So, yeah, I do fully appreciate about this, especially concerning for the fact that, we've essentially done everything for all the gems, and let's have a look at the upgrades before we leave. And yeah, everything is all settled. So basically that was about the fact that we've already unlocked 5 different upgrades and stuff like that. So yeah, seriously, look how many money we've got. There's like so many. And let's have a quick look at this particular boo container thing right there. And sure enough, we've got all 32 of these boos. Unlike the first game, the maximum you can get up to is 50. So generally speaking, that's all I can really say about this, I guess. Although you can still use the control stick if you want able to maneuver the actual first-person view. Or essentially, though, if you love gyro sensing controls, then you can simply just try to move your controller around and you can see all those boos within the craziest gyro sensing controls motion. So, yeah, that's what I can really think about in terms of everything else potentially. So, yeah, I suppose with all that being said, folks, is that we get endings off this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Luigi's Mansion 2, aka Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, for those of you who lived in North America, is that we might end up in the finale in the Dark Moon quest by going into Stop the Nightmare. So I'll see you guys until on Friday. Later, fellas.